What's up?
Eat.
What's going on? What's going on?
What is up, everybody? We are back for
I don't know
our.
why I said that twice. My bad.
I don't know. Just keep talking. Everybody will forget or they'll chuckle.
It's
Either
one
way,
of these
it'll
days,
work.
man.
Yeah. So, thanks everybody for joining us for our weekly recap and preview for our Scratch Draft League. Every week we're going to. If you don't know what we're doing, we're not going to spend all this time breaking it down again. We talked about this last episode, so you might want to watch that one to catch up and figure out what's going on. Draft strategies, whatever else. This is just going to be kind of a weekly recap and breakdown. We're just going to hop right into it and go. There are a couple things I want to bring up first. Down in the description, we have a bunch of links and stuff to contact us for discount codes, stuff like that. There's one thing I do want to talk about. I'm going to make a video about this here pretty quick, but I've got a guy that sent me some really cool pins, and they're made out of a bowling ball. This used to be a Spectre. So,
hey, we got Freed in the chat. Oh, hey.
Yeah. He wants to hear how bad we're going to whoop his ass. Jaden's going to drop that 821 again.
Nah, that's called a warm up for tonight.
I'd really rather him not shoot 793 at me though, but I mean, one or the other. So, so this guy's email is down in the description, and obviously this is not stuff that's going to be cheap. He doesn't have a website or anything. It's if you have an old bowling ball that you want turned into something different. I mean, he made me a wine stopper from the Spectre as well. We got a pizza cutter.
That's pretty cool.
Freaking bowl.
Yeah.
Used to
honestly, the bowl is the coolest part because I sniffed it. It actually still smells like Spectre.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about the Storm stuff is they still smell like stuff. So if you want to talk to this guy about possibly getting something like this done for you, his email address is in the description. So anyway.
Andy. Andy made a good point that it's an illegal pen. So yeah,
he said he even did polish these with step 2. So
oh, that's fantastic. So it actually is illegal.
Yeah. Just fully. I mean, just all kinds of illegal.
Oh, that's amazing.
All right. So anyway,
it's some really, really solid kit. It's very well made. So
it's really, really great stuff.
I need to figure out a ball to send him and have him make a couple of things for me as well, just for kind of the nostalgia sake as much as anything else.
Yeah, and he is actually making prizes and stuff. So for our doggo fundraiser that we do.
He's chipping in some stuff for that. Awesome.
Yeah, he's going to make. We are about to send him a case of balls so that he can make a bunch of stuff, and we're going to add some of the items to some of the packages for our doggo fundraiser stream, which I think we figured out is going to be December 9th.
Yep, that sounds right.
Yeah, that fits in between some of the tournaments that we have going on.
Because we usually do it either in between top 36 and grand finale or the weekend of grand finale is when we've done it in the past. So. Too bad he didn't polish them with reactive gloss so they won't get dirty.
Yeah. He said he makes legal pens too. So
yeah, that's good. Good looking out.
And I think we do have. Let me grab one of those since we've got it right here. He made some regular pens that actually have pictures of. You can see Storm Dog on there.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he can put pictures on the pens too. So
Storm Dog.
If you're interested, reach out and talk to him. So.
Yeah. Well, shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So, the first week we did, you did rather well.
The first week, the backpack was. I was high man week 1 and I was low man week 2.
Yeah, and so it's interesting how things change from week to week, but that's what we'll talk about. So let's get into the recap. That's on the screen here for last week. So I'll let you.
It's this top block here. So. As a reminder, if you want to learn more about like the nitty gritty of the league, go back and watch our week 2 show. We broke down a lot of the overall composition of the league, how it's formed, team structures, et cetera, et cetera. The gist of it is this is a match point league. So you're bowling both head to head against the person directly across from you. as well as team versus team every single game. So individual points is 1 for each game, 1 for series. Team is 4 for each game and 4 for series. So there's 32 points available per night. And so as you're looking at I snipped from the recap sheet from last week, bold numbers mean the game was won by that individual or that team. Hopefully you can see that okay on the screen, and Luke looks blurry again. That is unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm just going to be randomly, don't pay no attention to me. I'm just trying to get this camera to focus again.
Skill issue. Anyways, so the big change on our side from last week is Noah, who is our leadoff bowler week 1, has been dealing with a little bit of a ligament injury in his thumb. Ended up taking a week off, and so we got Russ Wilson's wife, Crystal, to sub for us. Russ and Crystal won the Lucy in, was it 04 or 05, I think?
Yeah, 03 actually. Yeah, it's 04 because next year is going to be
next year's the 20th anniversary.
Yeah.
But I mean, she's like phenomenal bowler. I'd actually never met her before in person. Got the connection through Jesse, through Russ, to get her to bowl, and had a lot of fun with her stepping in for Noah last week. So overall, it was a really, really solid night. Crystal barely lost her set to Ryan, who had a great game 1, and they just kind of fell off a little bit. Luke took care of business over Josh, and Jaden had a really good night. She had gotten some fit issues sorted out. She's been switching over to Jopo thumbs, similar to what I've been doing, and got the rest of her arsenal switched over to that finally. And she was crushing with her duo all night. And for me, I won all my points, but it felt a little anticlimactic, for lack of a better term. Jesse's been fighting some fit issues and just hasn't had much time to practice recently. And so he was like, I think his thumb ripped open a little bit game 3, and he actually bowled 2-handed for most of game 3, which was kind of fun to watch. But the flip side of it is I honestly did not bowl that well. My execution was not that great, and my ball reaction wasn't that great either. And I missed by enough to not strike enough to have a pretty mediocre day of bowling. But ultimately, if I shoot 670 and I'm below man every week, I will take that and run straight to the exit. So,
well, I think that was part of the idea or the thought behind the team building, is that we're going to have those weeks where you're just going to straight up carry us, which we had the first week, and then we're going to have these other weeks where the rest of us, hit where we kind of, I mean, I wouldn't imagine that I'm probably not going to average 225. Jaden's probably not going to average 230. But we should have these.
A night like this is in the range of outcomes. Yeah.
Yes. This is exactly what the kind of idea is. So our first 2 weeks have been, well, this is the idea. If the rest of us are struggling, there's times where if you're matched up, you can just put the backpack on and we don't have to worry about it. And then there's other times where, again, if 670 is like a bad night for you, that's great. And we can each, put up, just solid numbers like this. That is, 2730 is
that's a lot.
That's going to win most of the points most nights.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that may have actually, let me go back to the standings sheet. That was one of the, what do you shoot? 2732. Yes, we were 4th high in the league behind Crouch, Russ, and Trevor's teams.
And even if you look at the points distribution there, we'd have lost total to a couple of those teams, but we probably would have come out pretty good. So, barring some team just having a career night at us. Yeah.
And that this was kind of if I could sum it up in one phrase, kind of our team motto is trust the process. That's kind of the way I'm approaching it. Is like, build the team and let us get to work type of deal. But no, overall, really, really solid night for us across the board as a team. I mean, 25 is a good night no matter how you slice it. 25 out of 32. And I mean, we lost 1 team game, 2 individual points, and 1 individual set. And that's in that 1 team game we didn't even lose, but we lost by 27.
Yeah, and it was really just, Ryan shot 270 something the first game.
Yeah.
But we were talking about this in the preview last week, is that there's a bunch of rev rate on the pair. So we were kind of half expecting the bigger rev rates to maybe not have the greatest night. And then, of course, Ryan comes out of the gate with that. But
he was playing further right than I expected him to, I will say.
Yeah.
But
He
go ahead.
he managed that, but I think he actually helped Jaden and Crystal out a little bit.
Building a little extra bounce for them as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and just kind of stabilizing that outside line, because the tricky thing about that is the bumper is fairly pronounced, it feels like, this year on 5. And so I've been fighting that a little bit, where if you get it out just a little bit early, it stops and checks. But if you get it in, it kind of wiggles and is a little flat. So having him out there helped kind of balance things and kind of tame the lanes down a little bit. And, Crystal got progressively better, and Jaden kind of stayed there the whole time.
It felt like Jaden bowled 230, 240 game 3 too, and she just had a couple of unlucky kind of like decent shot that checked on her type of deals. Like, could have easily gone a little bit differently in that sense. For myself, I think I mentioned this last week on the preview show, where I was in between a couple different ideas. Option 1 was kind of, like fire it up the track like I did week 1. And option 2 is just kind of get away from all the chop and try and get left of everybody off the rip. There was a weird wiggle spot on 6 that I had struggled to manage. We were on 5 and 6 last week. And there's a weird flutter spot on 6 that I kept hitting. And that made pin carry a little tricky from inside. I threw my Infinity on the fresh, and it looked okay, but I needed more surface on it, if I'm being honest. And so then I just kind of tried to go back right. It didn't look great. And I was committed to just kind of staying inside and finding a different way to get my ball through the pins. And when I threw my NV Tour decently well, it looked pretty good, but I made probably 7 or 8 shots that I knew had a 0.0% chance of striking before they read the arrows. So that's kind of how the cookie crumbles. I think I chopped a 3-6 game 2, and other than that, I made all my spares. So I've got 2 opens through 2 weeks, and one of them was a 7-10, the other was a 3-6 chop. So could be worse.
Yeah. For me, it wasn't my greatest night. I was kind of swimming and everything. I had this thing where normally my hand is pretty, I don't know, it's just pretty small to start off the night. And I got I've got a pretty high metabolism. So it's very easy for my hands to fluctuate in size, and most of the time just shrink. And actually my hand tends to shrink as we're bowling too. And so I just couldn't, I just felt like the ball was falling off my hand. But I had a very smart set this week where I feel like I bowled better shooting 580 the first week than I did shooting 670 this week. I was just smarter this week. I took my gold label that I knew was going to be, it just needed to be the first ball out of the bag, period, and kept it in play, try to hit the pocket. And especially when I don't, the feel, my feel was a little off, and it took a while for my hand to kind of, for me to catch the ball. Yeah. So I didn't bowl great, but I didn't throw it great, but I threw it smart, and that just kind of kept me out of trouble. And then the last game I was able to, get something rolling.
Yeah, it was, and I mean, even Crystal, I think she went through 3 or 4 balls game 1.
Yeah.
And then settled into, of all things, a lane shined, pinned down Zen Master, and then shot 500 the back 2. So nice ball change, I guess.
Yeah. So this is, we don't expect, we're not going to expect teams to shoot 2,500 at us every week. It's probably going to be closer to the 2,600, 2,700 range. 2,650 is an average kind of what we're going to have. So they had a little bit worse of a night after getting started than we did.
Yeah. I think I actually did the math on this. I think league average is about 2,600 flat. If you look at incoming average for 4 games, feels like the average draft average of the teams was around 860, 865-ish maybe. And that comes out to 2,600. So
yeah. Okay.
Somewhere in that range. Nothing too insane.
So yeah, we didn't really, again, we bowled solid. We bowled solidly above average. And we kept putting up numbers that put pressure on people and kind of make them show up. And so this was a good solid set. Nobody did anything special, but nobody really did anything wrong. So a little bit of a grinded out set, kind of, but we all kind of had looks, and feels weird to say grind, and we averaged like 225 as a team.
Yeah. But that's kind of how it goes sometimes.
It felt like a grindy night for some reason. I think Jaden was really the only one that was kind of that was locked in on top of things the entire night, just making great shots. I felt like it was a little bit of a struggle. You felt like you had a little bit of a struggle, and Crystal just was slow getting started and figuring out the look. And then, but
once she found it, she was off to the races, and that was pretty evident to see.
Yeah. So this week tonight we're bowling Jerry Jennings' team,
aka Team Ottawa.
Yeah, Jared Freed is engaged to Jaden Barr, that's on our team, so they're going to be bowling each other tonight. The entire team,
not head to head, but
not head to head,
opposite teams. Yeah,
the entire team of Jennings bowls for Ottawa University here in Kansas, about 30 miles south of Lawrence, and they're a fairly new program within the last 6-7 years, and they've really taken off. Jaden's probably the best female bowler on the team, and she's leading tryouts again too.
Nice, good for her. I saw that tryouts are underway right now, and then there's definitely some talented guys that are getting better quick on the guys' side. Freed, obviously, I mean you've seen him for years and years. He's got a crap load of physical talent. Jerry is, I think, quietly one of the smarter, like, up the lane guys in Medlin. I think. Like, nobody, I don't think anybody realizes it, but he's always there. Justin, I had never even met him until the start of the league, but two-hander, getting better. I actually kind of like his release and kind of overall ball roll, so I think he's got a lot of room to grow as well. And then Chris has made some pretty substantial changes of not elbowing around it as much. So I mean, there's due respect to Team Ottawa for tonight, as they've been putting in the work and it shows. Is kind of, I think, the best way to say it.
I think one of the things for them too is they all kind of keep it in play, and they don't really they don't get too high, they don't get too low. Jared wears his heart on his sleeve a little bit more than the rest of them, but he's really brought it down as far as,
he's mellowed in his old age.
Yeah, well, and it doesn't translate to the shot after that, and the shot after that, and the shot after that. Yeah. He's able to leave stuff on the lanes a little bit better, or, leave stuff on the approach a little bit better now, and just kind of reset for the next shot. And some people, you're gonna show excitement, frustration, whatever else, but as long as you just leave it there, and
if you can isolate it from the next shot, then
it really doesn't matter. Now, something to note here too is that they were on lane 3 and 4 last week, and so their numbers are, aside from Jared having the first 2 games were pretty good, they were on the pair that we were on the first week.
Yeah,
and so they ended up scoring. Aside from you, they scored better than the rest of our team did. I think they outscored who we bowled too.
Very, very nearly by about. Or are you talking about week 1?
I don't
remember what Rob's team shot.
They shot 840, 840 or something like that. So it wasn't. They didn't do anything special, but
that's something I wanted to highlight. And you can see down here at the bottom, I've got a graph. This is actually from League Secretary. This is the average by pair so far for this season. 1 and 2 is the 3rd lowest average. And I went back and looked. The high set so far off of 1 and 2 was Josh King shot 696, I believe, week 1. And he needed 269 game 3 to get there.
Yeah. And
it's like there's not been very many numbers. Like, all 4 team sets have been sub 25-50 on that.
Yeah. 1 and 2 is the pair that we're going to be on tonight.
Yes.
Versus them. So
we're on 1 and 2 against Team Ottawa tonight. So I'm 1 through 6. I feel like have potential to be there's potential to strike there, but it's a lot of night to night variability. I think it's kind of the main theme of those 3 low end pairs, and so it's kind of going to be a which story do we get type of deal as much as anything else, just in terms of how the lanes break down.
Yeah, well, I was talking to Jerry and Jared a little bit at the tournament the other day, and we're talking about just bowling on 1 and 2, and I've said it before, but it seems like on that pair it's either 580 or 780. There's not a whole lot of in between.
Yep.
However, it's been a whole lot worse on the right side. I seem to do really well on 1 and 2, no matter what league we're bowling in. I shot when we got back from nationals in April, I shot 780 something. Or 760, whatever.
You shot a lot, and then you had our first night of Friday League was on that pair, and you shot
and I shot 690 with
like splits. five splits or something like that. Yeah.
I had 4 splits in the first 12 frames or whatever,
and still got the 690.
Yeah. So 1 and 2's normally been pretty favorable for me. I don't typically have trouble with 7. There's no particular leave that I have any trouble with on either the lanes. They normally play fairly equally for me. If anything, one's just if they start oiling on that side, one's a little drier. But typically, I've got a pretty good look on 1 and 2.
Yeah, I feel a little more difference lane to lane on 1 and 2 than I think you do, and I think that's just a right versus left side and kind of track burn. Plus, I think there is a bit of a topography difference between the 2 lanes.
Yeah,
gets accentuated by that more defined track area on the right side. Oh, good point, Jonathan. We should touch on standings. We are not in first, unfortunately. We are very, very close. The spread kind of, I think we touched on, there were a few teams that had blowouts and a few teams that got run over week 1, and then everybody else was kind of even. You can see even now these are standings through 2 weeks out of a possible total of 64 points. It's kind of leveled out a lot more, and this is closer to kind of the spread that we were expecting to see, I think, at this point during the season. Like first to 6th is 8.5, 13th to 18th is 5. So it's all like really, really close. I mean, total spread is 30 across the entire field. Like 1 week top to bottom. That's a little closer to normal, and I think we're going to kind of see that regulate a little bit more kind of over the course of the season as well.
Yeah. And as far as it goes, again, as we see this kind of, and some teams are having better matchups to start the season. Some people are kind of slow getting started. Other people are starting off like they never left. And so once we get 5-6 weeks in, we'll kind of see something different. But I think the trend you're going to see is, again, we've talked about this a couple times, but if you get 20 points a night, you're going to be in the top 5 pretty easily, probably even in the top 3 at the end of the half, and then at the end of the year too. So again, we've gotten 19 and 25. If we keep doing that every single week, I mean, we're going to have our nights where we get 10 or 11.
If we can minimize the damage on our off nights and hit for 20 to 25 when we have a good night. If we do that every week, then it works out.
Yeah. So go back to the matchups now. I have a couple interesting things here.
Yeah. So right here, these were the 2 teams. Obviously, this is not our official bowling order. I'm not sure why Noah's at the bottom. It might be because
I think it's going off total. I think that's kind of like our total pins so far. That's the position that we'd be in, and I think Noah's just down there because of what Crystal shot last week. But what the team order is going to be for tonight, if you scroll up just a little bit so that they can see our lineup. So I'm going to be back in the 3-hole just because of the book averages.
Yeah. So with Noah being back, that puts Luke back to second highest average on the team, because Luke out averaged Noah by 3 or 4, I think. So Noah's going to be back. It's going to be back to Noah, Jaden on the top half, Luke in the 3-hole, and me bowling anchor. So that's going to be kind of a return to form, essentially. The lineup that Team Ottawa has had with Chris, then Justin, then Jared, then Jerry. I almost called him Jenny by accident. That would have been awkward. That's the lineup they've used for the first 2 weeks. And I'm going to be honest, I don't see that changing. Jerry's teams have kind of operated under we are what we are kind of mentality, and just kind of this is our lineup and we'll take our lumps. And that's honestly kind of how I'm approaching this as well, is even thinking about the bowler to bowler matchups, there might be a little more potential for neutralizing things if I take Jared and you take Jerry. But at the same time, like, it could go either way no matter what we do. And I feel like it's one of those matches where it's kind of close enough that we just do our thing and hope for the best and kind of, I think this will be, if I had to guess, I'm gonna call this match 22-10, but by like 30 on total pins, and I have no idea which way it's going.
Yeah,
that is my prediction for this week.
Yeah, I think that it's not going to be split right down the middle. I think one team's going to get the lion's share of the points. As far as we don't know as far as Noah goes where his hand's at. He says he's doing better. He says his hand's fine. 1 and 2 could be weird. Chris Quidditch, he's going to be bowling Quidditch, and Quidditch has definitely got the power advantage. Yes. And so if he can keep it around the pocket, the power advantage goes to Chris. But Noah also just really keeps it in play and walks it down the side. And if he can, if he gets some mixer hits, he can go for 700 pretty quietly. Yeah.
If Noah and Jaden get their hits going kind of up the lane a little more, I think it'll be a really, really fun match.
Yeah. And then, Jaden's going to be bowling Justin. Yep. And on paper, she's got the advantage, and especially she's got the pin advantage so far. We don't know about 1260 for Quidditch so far, so he's gone 630 basically, or 620 640 I guess if you look at it.
Yep.
And they've been on again 3 and 4, not a great pair.
And they started on 5 and 6.
They started on 5 and 6, also not a great pair. 1 and 2 is not a great pair, and so it could just be muddy for everybody. So Noah, Chris, I have no idea which way that's going to go. It could be a blowout one way or the other, depending on the trickier they are. I think the harder of a time Chris is going to have versus Noah, because Noah just kind of points it and keeps it out of trouble. So if they're messy and they're kind of like what we had this last week or what we had the first week, I mean, aside from you, I think that was kind of an anomaly based on what the lane was. Not necessarily, you shooting the score like that is an anomaly. It's just for how tricky the lanes were.
Yeah. It was one of those nights week one where I just, all my moves all worked on the first try. So it worked out. But
so see, that could, I would give Jaden the advantage just in general over Justin, especially again, if they're nasty.
Yep.
I would give Jared the advantage, the pretty definite advantage over me, unless again the right side's nasty and the left side I get what I've been getting. Jared is the better physical bowler by quite a bit. I think it's just going to boil down to matchups and if I actually show up tonight. And then you versus Jerry, you definitely got the power advantage. I would give just historically I'd give you the advantage over him. What I was looking at as far as the lineups go, it might actually be a lot. Now, they have the lower team average on paper, so they get the final say on the lineups. We can change the lineups, but then they have the final change.
They can change to match that,
They can change them right back. I would say that the smarter thing, if we could do it on paper, would be to put Noah against Justin and Jaden against Chris in the 1 and 2 spots. And then if we could flip, again, Jared and Jerry are so close that I don't know that there's really a...
Yeah, they get their different ways, but they both are pretty high floor and decent ceiling.
That's the point. So if they get nasty, it's going to be rougher for you. And Jerry keeps it out of trouble. And so if they're not favorable, that's one of those, you could beat him by 100. He could beat you by 50, whatever, depending on the lanes. But you and Jared should be on a fairly similar scoring pace.
Yeah.
I would say, just because you've got similar kind of ball motion, you both got higher rev rates, higher speeds. And so you should track, assuming that you're both throwing it well, you should track fairly similarly. You and Jerry could do that. Chris and Noah could do that.
Yeah.
So again, I would flip again. For our first two, I would flip 1 and 2 and I'd flip 3 and 4 so that Jaden would be bowling Chris, Noah would be bowling Justin, you'd be bowling Jared, and I'd be bowling Jerry. I'm not sure if that's something that they're going to do, but again, that's like you were talking about earlier, 22 and 10, based on what's happening with the lanes and what we're doing, it could completely be different. we could either wipe them or they could wipe us, and it could be very lopsided as far as individual points go. We could have like sweep, just, they sweep us, we sweep them, they sweep us, we sweep them, and just
it could be one of those really weird nights of like, I don't think it goes more than like 22 or 23 in either direction though. Like I think there's just enough of a floor with both teams that we'll be able to get something out of it, type of deal. So
again, as far as the team things, just because of how they've got a couple power players, we're I guess as far as power goes, we're kind of on the low side of the power. But again, on the flip side, we've got the keep it in play, hit the pocket.
When they get ugly, I think we're better than most. I think that's part of that.
And if they're scoreable, they could run away with it. And again,
if they're scoreable, we can still hit it though. Which I mean, even when they weren't great last week, we still got it done. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely that possibility. Like you said, it's still very early in the season. We're still kind of getting a feel for where all the teams sit, essentially. So we'll see what happens. But so strategically for you last week, I know you changed up a few things with your bag. I think you threw your clone most of the night last week.
No, it was the gold label that I ended up.
Oh, that's right. But you did look at the clone and I think the DNA in practice as well. Just kind of looking for a little more control off of the end of the pattern.
I threw the DNA in our Friday night league.
Okay. It's all kind of blurring together at this point. Pun not intended with your camera, but
Yeah, so I've been using our Friday night league because we also bowl our Friday night mix league at Royal. I've been using that to kind of test things for the following week, kind of address problems that I had on Thursday, and then also kind of take a look at things for the next week. I threw my DNA on Friday, and it looked really good. So I'm probably going to bring that tonight. The gold label is a staple. It's just staying in there. I might even bring my UC3.
Ooh.
The clone also looks really good. I threw that all 8 games in the tournament on Monday.
Yeah.
So that needs to stay in the bag. The Tour Dynamics, I think, is just a sport ball. I think it's just a little too weak on house. And if I'm using something like that, I'd rather have the shape of like a Hype Solid. I don't necessarily need that extra control of the Tour Dynamics. I have enough control with something. I need a more control shape balance there. And the clone, if I need something that's just going to be heavy rolling, controllable, hit the pocket with, that and the Tour Dynamics are a little redundant. The clone's stronger, but as far as the shape goes, they're fairly redundant. And I think I think the blackout is going to be back in the bag, assuming that I actually play the right zone of the lane. Because if I do need to get in a little bit away from it, and again, if Rob continues to play third arrow, and so if I'm playing left to him, that's just stupid. I played, third arrow with the DNA. I played in that kind of middle zone for me, I guess, with the DNA, and that looked good. And if that looks good, the blackout is going to look good from there too. So.
It's just kind of, I think for the more responsive stuff like the blackout, I think you'll just need to kind of like have some options to go a little straighter if you need to. But then I think the blackout, like stuff like the blackout and the DNA to a certain extent, or a clone maybe would probably just be like a get in and go around it a little bit more and not try and play on top of the dirt quite as much for you.
And that's what I'm expecting for 1 and 2 also, because it's normally a somewhat drier pair. And so that's the other thing is I'm thinking I might have to be further inside. And I have typically had to be further inside on 1 and 2 versus most of the other pairs in the house. And so that's another thing that I'm thinking is I am going to need something that can get around the corner a little bit better.
Yeah, that makes sense. For myself, I took the exact same bag last week as I did week 1. So it was Infinity pin up, my NV Tour pin up, pin down Widow Hybrid, and a pin up Ocean 5. I ended up playing them totally different from week 1 just because the playing out felt so sketchy in practice that I just didn't really want to mess with it.
Yeah.
It was kind of my thinking. I know I was talking with you about this even in real time as we were bowling, of like playing out just didn't look all that great for me. And so it was kind of let's not even mess with it and try to blend things going through the middle of the lane a little bit more. And I had the right idea. I just had the wrong surface on my Infinity and a massive skill issue within myself. So it's kind of that's how it went down last week. This week, the NV Tour and Ocean are definitely staying in. I'm still debating a little bit. I might bring the pin up Widow hybrid instead of the pin down. I haven't decided yet. And then the one change that I definitely am going to make is I think I'm going to leave the Infinity at home and put just a little bit of surface on my top speed and bring that instead.
Yeah, those
top
are
speeds
fairly close for you anyway, aren't they?
They're pretty close. Yeah, the top speed is just a touch quicker and a touch more kind of defined of a pivot tumble without rolling out. And that's the general idea. Is I want to make sure I have an option kind of on the higher side of my bag that I can get rolling through the pins instead of kind of missing the hook phase, missing the roll phase like 3 feet long. Yeah. And so that's the idea behind putting the top speed back in there. It's drilled a little more aggressively than my Infinity is, so that kind of helps it square up to the pocket a little easier as well. And so that's just kind of if I do have to get left a little sooner and get the ball to square up from deep, then that's what that is going to be for. And then I'm still waffling a little bit on the Widows. The down one obviously looked great for week 1. And so if there is a little more crisp to the right, and I need that kind of cleanish but really round shape on friction, I think that's where that would come into play. And then just kind of, if I need the torque, then if I need the extra torque that I would get from the pinup, then I might just kind of try and fake that with my hand with some combination of my down Widow and the up Ocean 5. So it'll probably just be swap one ball for me and the rest stays status quo. But otherwise, not a whole lot of craziness here.
All right. So I think that'll probably wrap us up for today. We've talked about it 7 different ways, and we'll just have to see how it goes tonight. And then we will be back again next Thursday. It's the following Thursday that we won't have next Thursday is KC.
Yes. Yep. So we might might have to squeeze this in like Wednesday.
Yeah, we might have to do this Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. We might have a Wednesday night show even, or Tuesday at lunch, or we'll see how it goes. But we will be busy next Thursday, so this will be a different time next week. And they've been pretty quick about getting these up.
They had this up yesterday.
They should have something up by Tuesday, Wednesday, so it might just be a Wednesday night stream instead of Thursday noon. So
there you go.
All right. Well, thanks a bunch, everybody. We'll see how it goes. Good luck to the other team. It'll be fun to bowl with them.
Yeah, for sure. It's a fun group of guys to bowl with, regardless. And that just to kind of echo a thing from week 1, from the last week of the show, is like all the teams are like awesome people to bowl against for the most part.
Yeah,
that's not something. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, flip back over and see where they're at in the standings again.
They are half point ahead of us.
Okay, yeah. So this is.
But we're up on them by 200 for pinfall.
Okay,
so very very close.
So yeah, we do have something kind of on the line for this here too. We're both, and a good week out of either of us could really boost us up there further. So
yeah, this is like a position round. That's not a position round this week type of deal.
Yep,
should be a good time.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Remember, I do have some links and some information and stuff, discount codes in the description. Be sure to check that out. And, we'll just get off of this thing. We'll see everybody next week at some point. Thanks a bunch.
Same bat station, different bat time.